Good evening, everybody. This is the June 11th meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Public Services Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, call the roll. Kennedy?
Here.
Schmidtke?
Present.
Riley?
Here.
Cletier?
Here.
Van Oz?
Here.
And Jim Budney and Lenny Pedestris will not be here this evening. We do have a quorum. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as is written.
Support. Moved and supported the agenda be approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Before we move on, I told our new DPS director, who will start next Monday, June 17th, that I wanted to reintroduce him. This is our regular meeting date, and I just want to welcome Derek Thiel here. Derek. And I want to say a few words about Derek. Derek was a prior employee of the township running the airport years ago, but we're thrilled to have Derek join us. He grew up on Grosse Ile. His family still lives on Grosse Ile. He lives in Gibraltar, where he currently is the city administrator, public works director, city planner, DDA director, wears several hats. So we're pleased to bring somebody with that kind of experience on board. Derek has a Bachelor of Science degree in Public Administration and a degree in a Master of Public Administration, specializing in state and local government. He's had a wealth of experience in the kinds of things that this commission is responsible for, whether it's the water system, where he holds a couple of the licenses that are necessary, the sanitary system, a ton of experience, capital projects of all sorts, stormwater, asset management, and working with other contractors, our engineers. He's got a wealth of experience. So I just want to say we're very pleased to have you here. He's currently a member of the Michigan Municipal League Local Government Finance Legislative Committee, which will be a benefit to us, and also has the S2 classification for operating the water system, stormwater operator certification, master citizen planner certification, and one thing we don't get into much at our commission levels, because we're dealing with water, sewer, refuse, and those type of things, but our DPS department does issue all the building permits and supervises and coordinates with all the building inspectors construction activity on the island for buildings. So with all that, we're pleased to have you here, Derek. I know you spoke at the last meeting, and I don't want to put you on the spot again, but just wanted to make sure the residents know you're here, and hopefully the camera can zoom in on Derek and see his face. But he's going to start next Monday, June 17th.
Thank you. As the chairman mentioned, I will be starting next Monday. I'm really looking forward to working with the DPS Commission, the members of the staff of the DPS department, as well as the Township Board. And I look forward to working on some capital projects with you to advance the priorities of the township and trying to provide the best community we possibly can for the residents. So appreciate all the kind words and the comments relative to my qualifications. I hope to leverage all those to do the best job that I possibly can. So thank you.
Thank you, and we're looking forward to your arrival.
You're going to be moving back home and get out of that swamp, aren't you?
Well, it's water has been a challenge in Gibraltar, but we have a very good staff down there as well that they've worked very hard to try to keep us high and dry, and I think we fared pretty well, especially compared to some of the farther south communities like Luna Pier and others that have had to deal a lot with wave action. So, it's definitely been a challenge, and being that is one of my responsibilities is to keep the city dry. That's one of the things I look forward to not having to keep track of necessarily on an hourly basis when we have high water, because that definitely impacts the community down there very heavily. And I know it impacts Grosse Ile to a certain extent, but not quite to the extent as the community in Gibraltar. So.
All right, well, thank you. So the first thing I'd like to announce is we have the agenda, and I hope everybody's had a chance to read through the packet, but because we have not had a director, and I want to credit the current administrative staff that works at the front counter down in DPS, our packet is all out of order, and usually the pages are numbered so we can refer to them. They're not.
Very important.
So,
Pages.
right.
Just by hand, they usually do it by hand with
I,
running the
I know,
clock.
but at least we got the packet out.
Right.
And so we're going to, probably you're going to have to do some searching here, but to make it easier, I will tell you this. Item number 5, 6, and 7 are approval of prior meeting minutes where our prior director was absent, and we have no minutes for any of those meetings. So there's no minutes for the February 12th or March 12th or the June 3rd meetings at this point. We'll have them in the future. Number 8 are approval of vouchers, and as you can see, there's no page numbers. You'd have to search to find them. There's only a couple pages of them, and I looked through them, and nothing jumped out at me. So I guess I'm not going to ask for a motion unless somebody has a question, because I'm sure it's difficult to find them. There was no unusual, in my opinion, no unusual expenditure. Anybody see anything they want to question? Without any questions, we'll move on. The same is true of the item number 9, the statement of revenues and expenditures, which is just the treasurer's, our finance director's summary of where we stand to date on all of our line items in the budget. This is only the second month into the fiscal year. It's for the month of May. Fiscal year starts April 1st. So there's really nothing there that looks out of normal. And that's usually pretty true for the first few months of the fiscal year. So we just normally accept those and file them. And we do have the treasurer's report. So it's pretty easy to find. Everybody's familiar with what it looks like.
I will make a motion. We approve the treasurer's report as written.
I have support.
Support.
Moved and supported that the treasurer's report for May be approved as distributed. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, well, we got through all that. Now, on to an action item. I hope everybody will be able to find the water sewer rate increase in your packet. Has everybody found it? Wish I could give you a page number, but there's several pages attached. This is something that we've been working on for a while, and it's a motion to recommend to the Township Board to authorize the adjustment to the water and sewer rates of 2.96% per quarter, as displayed on the water bill comparison attached. So Ann gives, our finance director gives a long history here. Basically, there is no proposed increase in the water rate, none. But there is a proposed increase in the sewer rate. And if you have that portion in front of you, the chart, and John, I don't know if you could put it up on the screen. Has everybody got the chart in front of them? It looks like this, John.
Or you can listen to it.
Yeah.
Listen to the number.
Yeah. So if you're looking at the chart on the packet, what it amounts to is 2.96%. It's a $14 increase per quarter, and it's in the sewer rate. Now, the original budget that was submitted to us called for a 1.56% increase, 1.56%. And it was a $7 and 50-cent increase per quarter. When we started looking at all that's going on with our sewer program, and that raised $81,000. This proposed increase is a little above that. And we have a balanced budget, but later on tonight, we're going to discuss our wastewater plant and capital needs. And at our last meeting, we approved a huge expenditure out of our fund balance for this year was over $317,000 by requirements of the state to do an asset management program, start up a GIS, and that's coming out of the wastewater treatment fund balance. Sitting down with Ryan Welch, we're going to talk about his capital plan a little later. It's a document that looks like this. It's in the packet. Ryan has, as we went through this, one item that's really an immediate need that was not budgeted. We have about $320,000 worth of projects planned for the wastewater plant this year. One is $280,000. It's reflected on this document. But and hopefully everybody will be able to find that too. But there's a raw sewage pump at the wastewater plant. It's one of the 4 raw sewage pumps that are very important. It's leaking. It's 50 years old. 50 years old? More than that. And it was to be replaced next year. Ryan feels it needs to be replaced now. So it's $60,000 item, give or take. And my feeling was when I heard about that we should increase the sewer rate to cover that cost. So what I'm proposing and recommending is it's 2.96% in the sewer rate. It would raise that $151,000. Open it up for questions. Are there any questions? Discussion?
Question.
Yes, Phil.
So the sewer rate is actually going from 90 to 104. The total, that would be 2.6 of the total, 472 to 486. Is that how we?
That's per quarter.
Per quarter.
Yeah. If you consume the 25,000 gallons of water,
Right.
it's based on the average consumption
Okay.
of water. So it's a 2.96% increase
Of the total bill.
of the total bill.
Of the total bill,
Yeah.
not just the sewer part.
Right.
The sewer part is actually,
A small part of it.
yeah, a small part of it. Okay.
Does that answer it?
That-
Okay.
I understand.
Okay, so with that, if there's no discussion, I'd entertain a motion. This would go to the township board at their next meeting. Entertain a motion to approve the sewer rate increase as proposed. And I have a motion to that effect.
I will make a motion that we approve or we send this to the township board for their approval.
I'll support.
I'll abstain on this particular issue. Respectfully, of course.
Okay? Any other questions? You have a question, John?
No, I don't.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we have 4 votes in favor and 1 abstention. Okay, covers that item. Next, we'll get an update from John Keim on the Park Lane Water Main Project. John?
Good evening, everyone. As of today, there is 2,400 feet of the new water main installed. There's total is 3964, so they're just over halfway. We also did connection at Voight today. That's why the water was shut off, in case anybody saw that on Groseal Connect. Went very smoothly. Everything's going real well on that job. The foreman on the directional drill feels that he can be done by Monday. So then they have to back up and do all the rest of the tie-ins at each end. Bridge Road is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, but it's supposed to rain, so we're not sure if we will be turning the water off on Thursday, but stay tuned to Groseal Connect and we will let you know. They're going to have 2 crews working to make all the connections to the service lines, and so it'll be a connection at Bridge Road and the connection where it meets Meridian. So everything's going really well. They will be working on Saturdays, so expect a little noise on Saturday mornings because they start at 7 a.m.
What percentage of the pipe is in, did you say?
Just over half, 50%.
Anybody been out there to take a look at it? Anyway, it's really moving along. It's a good project. That'll replace that really bad section of water main. So, all right. With that, Ryan, I'll call you up. Well, I'd ask everybody while Ryan's coming up. This is the page we're going to talk about, the capital plan for. If everybody can find that page, I know Brenda's got it out, right? Looks like this. Ryan has some good news about the elevator shafts to start with.
About the second last page.
Ryan?
Yes, I do. With the elevator, they should be back Wednesday to finish up with that. If not, then by next week, it should all be completed by. It's a vent is all it is, so there's no fan with that at all. There.
Oh, so it's just a vent. I thought there was a
It's
fan.
just a vent. Nope, it's just a vent.
Oh,
That's supposed to work. So
okay.
They've got the cables done?
not yet. We will after that. The Hoyt elevator knows about that, and we've ordered those, so that will happen after.
And then the inspector will come out and you can put the elevator back to functioning.
Yes. Yep.
Good. That's good news. At least we got the main construction
It
part
is.
of it done.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Bar screen project. It also has some good news.
Bar screen project. Put that up there. It went out for advertisement as of noon this afternoon, and sealed bids for that will be accepted until July 11th at 3 p.m. to the township clerk, and there will be a mandatory pre-bid meeting at the wastewater treatment plant on June 27th at 10 a.m.
Good. And what Sohail told me today was that, so it's good news that they're ready to bid it. We got the permits from the state. What Sohail told me today is that there are 4 contractors interested in bidding on it. And so he's made the pre-bid meeting a mandatory pre-bid meeting. So that's good. And so we can hope that we get some bids in hand by sometime in July. And I know they're going to be complicated
Yes.
to look at, to evaluate the bids. Ryan?
Let's see. Next.
That covers that, right?
Yes.
Our screen? I'd like to say a few words about the program. So you see how there are columns? You have 2020, which is the current fiscal year that ends, and Ryan wrote these numbers in. These are all in our current budget. So the 280,000 is for the intermediate lift pump upgrade. This is in addition to the bar screen. And the 12,008 is for the elevator hoistway ventilation, which is underway right now.
Yep. That's right now.
Item number 3 is the elevator cables, 11,000, and the raw sewage pump is $20,000. So those are all in our current budget. So for the next year, And you can see our budget, total amount for our budget, if we include the 60,000 for the raw sewage pump, the total amount is $383,800 that's in the budget. It was closer to 300,000. It was 323,000 before. If you look at the next 4 years in the plan, all the items that Ryan has put in, he's discussed with our engineers. I sat through a meeting with them, and they're all within the current budget constraint. So we had a goal of keeping it. We funded in our current funding for capital outlay annually. We have a little over 300,000. So our plan is to keep it at that $300,000 level for now, and not exceed that. So we should be able to easily fund all these improvements without having to do a further adjustment in the sewer rate. And next year, you penciled in the primary clarifier gearboxes, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And the secondaries, also the
Center drives for the secondary.
yes. And those are all original units. They're all 40 plus years old. So, you know,
As you can see, the very bottom there, there's 45,000 of unplanned replacement. That's keeping the $300,000 level. Everybody see that? So we know that things come up that we don't expect, like the elevator shaft came up, you know. You want to go into 2022? Ryan, you want to?
2022. Let's see, we have surge protectors for various areas of the plant. 20 grand. We have some electrical conduits, 50 grand for certain areas of the plant. We may have to paint the final clarifier weirs, the metal. That'd probably be another 50 grand. And then we have our influent flow meter. $20 grand for that. And for 2023, we need a new main plant generator. That's original, so that's over 40 plus years old as well. Yep. And let's see. And then we have an extra just 50 grand for unplanned maintenance. And then for 2024, the primary clarifier weirs, 75,000 for that, and those are also original. Let's see. Stanford baffles for the final clarifiers, which is recommended in the final basis of design. That's 50 grand. We need a new secondary sludge pump for our eventual new final clarifier, which is 50 grand for that. And then we need a larger bleach pump, 5 grand for that. And the new final clarifier will be in the millions for that, so we're gonna have to look into that as
That's something off in the
yeah,
future.
that's way in the future.
Okay. So I know these things are things that nobody's had a chance to fully comprehend. Ryan spent a lot of time going over this. Some of these were in the prior operator, Joe Keefe's plan. Some of these are in addition to,
Yes, yep.
and at least one of those or two of these items are mentioned in the ACO agreement. So again, the point that we tried to do with this is keep it at that $300,000 threshold so that it's funded, basically. We can plan on it being funded. We have the current revenues to fund it, and we can make improvements at the plant, which will help eventually what we're going to be asked to do, down the road in the future. So every year in the past, we've spent money to keep the plant up to date. That's very important to us. And because of the nature of the plant itself, you got to keep spending money on it. I mean, things wear out, all the pumps and equipment in that very humid environment that they operate in. So are there any questions? Anybody have an issue with what Brian's laid out here?
What's a clarifier?
There are we have two of them right now. They're round, circular. They're same as a primary clarifier, except they're round. So it's the third stage of the plant, the whole settling. So
The big tanks.
big,
Yeah, they
Round
allow
ones
the
at the
sediment to
end.
settle out.
right
Yeah,
for the
that's what it
just
amounts to. So you have primary clarifiers, final clarifiers in the
inspection, yep.
process. So the solids settle out, and then they put a chemical in to
Parts inside of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The weirs on the
Yeah.
top. Well, there are weirs on the top.
Ears, and then you have your skimmer arm that skims anything off the top.
Chemicals are added to coagulate any solids that are floating in the water, correct? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, what I would like to ask everybody to do, based on the concept, I'd like to ask for, we don't have a resolution, but I'd like to ask for your approval of this capital plan tonight. It doesn't mean it's set in stone every year, and we'll write up a resolution. This is subject to change every year, but we need to have some idea where we're headed, and so this is a conceptual plan. Let's call it that, the 5-year conceptual plan. I'll make the motion to approve a 5-year capital improvement plan for the wastewater plant with the understanding that it'll be adjusted from year to year as things change at the plant. That's the motion. Is there support? Brother?
I'll support.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, are there further discussion or questions? Hearing none? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good job, Ryan. Thanks for your effort here.
And then I have actually one more issue I'd like to. It's our maintenance cap through Suez for 2018 through 19, which is already over. It was over April 1st of this year. So the Suez contract's liable for 40 grand, and we were 18,682 more than that for this year. So I just wanted to let you know that Suez will bill the township for that amount, and we already budgeted 60 grand, so we're within that for last year's
Right.
maintenance cap, and on there is each month's amount of spending.
Yeah, and in the past, I noticed you gave me a note on that. In the past, our prior director sat down with you or Joe O'Keefe and went through these items, and then brought a recommendation to us.
Yep.
So this will
And
be
that's
on
where I
your,
am right now.
this we will plan on our our July meeting agenda. And hopefully you'll have a chance to sit down with Derek at least, and I'd be glad
Okay.
to join the two of you, sitting down and look at the reports. And I think Derek's got to get familiar with your
Sounds
monthly
good.
reports and how that works. And we do get a detailed monthly report that we go through and of what's going on at the plant. So that'll be on the July agenda, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to ask, there's nobody in the audience. I'd like to just go around and say, are there any items for the commission? Because I'm going to save mine till last. And what we're going to be looking for is there's a 2-page memo here, folks. It was right at the beginning of your packets. If there's still, there it is, John. So we'll get into that in a minute, but well, we'll follow the agenda order. So knowing that we were going to have a new director, I thought it wise to, and this I did a month ago, actually May 1st, to put some items together that are coming up this year for this commission, some of the challenges we have. So what I want to talk about is, and this is something we acted on at a special meeting on June 3rd, item number 1, does everybody have this page? Les, you got it? Phil's got it? Ted, you got it? Okay? Everybody got it? Okay. Item number 1 is at the wastewater treatment plant. We've already approved this. Township Board approved it last night. But it's the asset management plan, the startup of the asset management plan, which was required by the state of Michigan. We're going to start up a GIS program with our sanitary sewer program, the sewer system where we're out TV inspecting all the sewers. That's ongoing. And then we're going to start and John Kimes already started some of this, but we're going to have to upgrade the way we do it and document more of the information for a manhole inspection program to meet the certifications required by the state of Michigan. Now, I'm pleased to say on that, I wanted to brief Derek on it, but he's been through all this, and he helped get involved with an asset management startup, with a GIS startup. He's been doing the sanitary sewer TV program and the manhole program. He knows all about it. And so I think that's great. So that'll really help us, Derek, as we move forward. Before, when I put this together, I didn't know that you knew all about this stuff. So I'm glad you do, and that'll be an asset to us. Okay? Next item is the bar screen project. And when I put it together, I said hopefully it'd be bid in June or July. As Ryan reported, the bid date is now July 11th to receive all the bids. Looks like we may have 4 contractors to bid on the job. It's going to be $1 million plus job, and we have a budget for it, and that is included within our current fiscal year budget. And the concept of our finance director that we talked about was maybe someday issuing a bond, and I'll get to that in item number 4. Item number, is there any questions on that? We talked about that earlier. So next is the water main replacement on Park Lane, which is underway. And that's between Bridge Road and the north end of Meridian, north end of the island where Meridian meets Park Lane. And if you recall the history on that, we had all these water main breaks. That's under construction. It's $1 million plus job, and badly needed. It's going forward. John reported on it earlier tonight. So we had a chance to ask any questions on that. Now, item number 4, in our budget for DPS budgets, and I really like this. Our finance director came up with the concept. We were going to borrow money from the wastewater fund to fund the water main on Park Lane, borrow some of it, and use all the money we had in our water system fund for any capital projects to do this Park Lane project. Well, what the finance director and I think the township treasurer, who's our own Ted Van Oz, came up with is that we retired some major bond issues last year, both sewer and water. That gave us the ability to take that money we used for principal and interest on the debt and reapply it to some new debt without increasing any rates. So it looks like we're going to be able to do that. And there was a little bit of savings in our water system when we joined the Great Lakes Water Authority. So by pledging all those funds, And I sat down with the finance director a month ago, and we went through all the figures, went through the bond estimates. It looks like in the current bond market, where we could probably sell bonds for 4.5%, and they would vary. Most of them would be 25-year bonds for water and sewer system improvements, that we can fund those up to a $6 million bond issue. So what this would enable us to do is fund the item number 2, which is the bar screen project at the wastewater plant, fund the water main replacement on Park Lane, and it would still leave us about $500,000 in our water fund that we could do smaller projects with. And then a big issue is to take on water main replacement for water main on Meridian Road. And if you drive Meridian Road from Church Road north to Parkway and really look at the road, you can see 20-some cuts in the pavement. Over the last 5 or 6 years, we've had all these water main breaks. A couple that you can't even see are at the Ferry Road crossing area of the canal through the island. We've had 2 or 3 last year there. So this is an old water main. It's correct me, John, it's a 6-inch water main?
8-inch.
8-inch. And we're going to replace it with a 12?
Correct.
So this would be we're proposing to do up to $3 million. That the cost of that between Church Road and Parkway is maybe a little over $3 million. We'll see as far as we can go with it. So Les, you're familiar with this. This is the project we're proposing. So if you add all those together, items 2, 3, and the $3 million for Meridian, the proposal is by the finance director and me and Ted, I hope, that we would issue up to a $6 million bond. Now, what I want to tell everybody is at our July meeting, our engineers are coming in with a water study they just finished. It's a reliability study that's required every 10 years. And right at the top of the list is the Meridian Road water main. Park Lane was at the top of the list. Now it's being built, and to reduce our water main breaks. So that's what we're going to talk about this again. And if we get good bids on we call it the Duperon project at the wastewater plant or the bar screen project, it's possible that in August we could be having a discussion about selling bonds. So that's upcoming. So I know that's a lot to kind of swallow. I think everybody understands what I'm talking about. Any questions for discussion on that? Okay. Item number 5 are roads. We really don't know what the county's plans are for our roads. We don't even know what the county plans are for bridges, but thankfully the township board is handling the bridges and we're not. But what I'm interested in, when Derek gets on board, I'd like him to set up a meeting with the county road staff so we could ask them, what are you going to do this year? What might you do this year? We already have that local neighborhood program, but is there anything they might schedule like they did last year where they did sections of East River Road and we really didn't know about it except for a couple months ahead of time? I'm guessing at this point they don't have anything because they're going to spend money on bridges. But what are you going to do next year? What are you going to do the year after, especially if they get more money? We know they got more money. So I'd like to sit down with them and ask them, how much money can we really rely on in terms of Grosse Ile Township from you? You're going to give us a couple $100,000 a year, $300,000 a year? Then we can do some planning where we ought to spend it. So I'd like Derek to set that meeting up sometime before the end of July, Derek. That's a thought. Anybody want to chime in on that?
You know, we did sign a governmental agreement for $300,000.
Yes. Yes, that was last night. But that project, go ahead.
Committed from that point to another $200,000 under this next, $250,000 under the next project. But that's all that they've committed to.
I just saw that letter yesterday for the first time. So Ted, the project that you guys approved last night, we approved in December. List and the maps, and we awarded a contract in March. at the March meeting, and it was from Wayne County, and they hadn't approved the intergovernmental local agreement. So Wayne County gave us the money and said, here's a program. They haven't approved the agreement. So we have not awarded the contract without an agreement. We approved the agreement, your township board did last night. Hopefully it's going to go back to Wayne County, and hopefully in the next month they'll approve it. Then we can make these neighborhood road improvements, which start from the south end of the island and go all the way to the north end. But I would assume, we'd hope that, I guess we'll have to get these agreements pushed through the county before we go too far with it. But I assumed it was a done deal. But anyway, so that's all good news. I'd like to be able to do a little planning, get the county road people to sit down with us. Okay, and I know Derek, again, has had a lot of experience with the county with regard to roads and his own road system. As a city, Gibraltar gets money directly through Act 51. I wish we did sometimes, but anyway. Item number 6 is our refuse contract. The refuse contract does expire November 14th. One thing is, and I read the contract a couple of times, I'm not sure whether it says 60 or 90 days notice. We've already extended the contract 2 years because of the weight limits on the bridge. We were going to bid it a year and a half ago. The questions are, should we bid out, negotiate a further extension because of the bridge, because of weight hauling, the weight limits, hauling disruptions? Also at issue is the question of recycling and its costs and alternatives. And I said then, on May 1st when I wrote this, DPS needs to meet with Waste Management. We already have now a meeting scheduled with our subcommittee for Wednesday, June 26th with our subcommittee. I spoke with Brian Conaway of Waste Management a week ago, and he told me that they're going to have to raise our price. So not only for recycling, but just for refuse. So I know that the market's been competitive. I think we're going to have to bid it. And again, Derek's gone through this recently. And I don't know if you want to chime in on that at any point, but without getting into too much detail, but you've got experience in this.
Yeah, I think since I've been with the city of Gibraltar, we've bid 2 or 3 times for waste hauling services. Last time we went about bidding, I think it was a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options. The city decided to pick up one of the initial options this most recent go-around because we kind of did a census of what the market was like with recent bids received by other communities. And about 3 years ago, the market was really competitive. It kind of drove a lot of the prices down. I think recently, just in the past 18 to 24 months, the market's kind of eased up a little bit. So the pricing hasn't been as competitive. That's why we decided to go with an extension with our current provider down there. And I think a lot of that had to do with just a little bit back history on it. I think Rizzo was very aggressive with their bids, which drove the whole market down. And once they sold out to GFL realized they didn't have the capacity to support all the contracts that Rizzo had bound. So rather than bring on additional contracts, they kind of loosened up their bidding, and they got to the point where they kind of eased the pressure on the market. So yeah, there's a lot of intricacies associated with it. We have the same disposal location as you guys have here in Riverview Land Preserve, so that doesn't add another layer of complexity to it in that we know where the trash is going to be going and we don't have to bid that component out. But as you guys know, there's only a couple of players in the area, and that's in GFL, Waste Management. I don't know if Capital's still doing work, but Republic as well, I think, is the 4th one. So, I think it's a good first step to sit down with Waste Management, talk to them about what they think, and then you'll have a decision whether you want to go out to bid. I will tell you, I've been through a couple of waste hauling changes in my career, and when you change waste haulers, there's going to be issues. There always are. No matter how competent the hauler is, you're going to end up having missed stops. You're going to have route confusion. there's going to be an issue. There's about a year-long learning curve. So just keep that in mind if you're considering changing. That's going to be there's going to be a learning curve there that the residents are going to have to understand that they're going to have some patience with a change. So that all factors into the conversation, and that's one that we'll have to have as far as deciding what direction the township wants to go. So
Good points. Appreciate it.
Bill,
Yes.
just for your information and your committee's information, I had a conversation, a conversation with the Wayne County engineer, and he anticipated the weight limit is going to run through a year from September.
It's going to run through a year from
This
September.
September, so it's another year out.
Of the year out for the weight limitations. So I don't know if that's an optimistic number or a pessimistic number, but that was what he said. He didn't expect any change on the weight limits until a year from September. They're going to start work supposedly on some of the piling work in September of this year. And they figure it'll take a year for them to get to a position where they can get that weight limit back up to 82 tons.
I guess we're going to have to talk about one of the issues there is a full refuse packer. How many tons is it carrying? I don't know the answer to that. If I recall, the weighmaster, we had an issue when the weighmaster set the weight limits. He came in and met with us. I think he was here, actually. And at least we had a meeting with him, and Waste Management said they would go with reduced loads, 3/4 loads, however they could measure it. And there's been no issue. I know he stopped a few refuse trucks to begin with, but the issue's sort of gone away.
And it's a constant, so no matter who hauled, if you had a merger, acquisition, whatever, weight limit, it's coming off and going off the island, so it's a fixed point. No change, no matter who does it.
All right, so that's going to be an interesting topic to bring back.
It's something you need to talk about with the waste hauler, whoever you're going to discuss.
This refuse thing will be on our July agenda as well, at least some part of it. Maybe it's be the decision to go out for bids. I don't know. Bring that back. Item number 7 is the Suez contract at our wastewater plant, and this happens every 5 or so years. Contract is up. We've had it's up in March 31st of 2020. The contract does call for a 90-day notice there. So what we need, and Ryan and I have talked about this, we need a proposal from Suez to come in with a proposal. The sooner the better. And have you talked to anybody about when we might meet on that?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'll make sure I'm on that.
Yeah, and Ryan will get, or Derek will get involved in that too. But I'm looking that we should probably start discussions on that because with a 90-day notice, we need to know where we're going well before the end of the year or even close to it. So I would think maybe by August we ought to meeting with Suez. That's going to be a big issue for us. We've all been really pleased with Joe and the way he ran it, now Ryan and the way he's running it. But, making a change there would be a dramatic thing for us. Sure that that's what we want to do, but we'll have to see what kind of proposal Suez comes in with. So that's a big challenge for us. In the last issue, the old discussion you shouldn't tread. Thinking way out, a year from now, we have our road millage, which is 4/10 of a mil. And in case anybody's watching, the 4/10 of a mil raises about $230,000 per year. And $100,000 of that we spend on maintenance type items. A big item, $30,000 in that range a year for dust control on the 5 or 6 miles of gravel roads we have on the island. We supplement county's roadside mowing and tree removal, the dead trees that fall on the road. We supplement what the county doesn't do. The county will mow our roadsides once a year, and, the island would look tragic if that's all we allowed. So we do roadside mowing. We do some ditch mowing as well. And then we supplement the county ice and snow control in the winter to pay them an extra sum of about $30,000 to make a priority of our school bus routes. And then we do some plowing on our own when we get into bad storms. I think it's over 6 inches. Yeah, whenever the fire chief declares snow emergency. And we have pickups that we can run to at least get one furrow plowed down each road so that they don't become a mess of ice and massive ice. So those maintenance items run about $100,000 a year. That leaves us about $130,000 a year, which over the last 10 years we've been consumed with repairing concrete slabs in various subdivisions. If anybody at the high school, you know that Gray's Drive has been a focus of that. So is Park Lane around the high school. So that leaves us about, so that raises it $230,000. We have about $100,000+ a year to make road improvements. Also, I'm going to tie in with that, add to this discussion that that's going to be on the ballot at the next presidential election in November of 2020. That's up for renewal. That's very important to us at 0.4 of a mil. So that's a little less than half a mil. So in 2015 and 2018, we went to the voters and asked for about 2 mils for road programs, which were denied. So certainly we could conclude the voters don't want us to pay 2 mils for road improvements. Unfortunately, most people I talk to complain about the roads to me. And we've had a number of people here in the last year complaining about roads. So I don't know what this commission wants to do. I would think it's foolish to go with a request for 2 mils. The only thing I just, as I was thinking about this, suggested maybe we should go for 0.6 of a mil. So we'd have 0.4 of a mil for maintenance and 0.6 of a mil for road improvements, which would raise about $300,000 per year. It'd be a separate issue. And I know that on the November 2020 ballot, there's going to probably be 2 or 3 other renewals, whether it's police or open space or fire. I don't know what they are at this point. That's something that we need to think about. And, I throw out to the commission, is that something that, it would raise $300,000, we could go do a half a mile here and there every year. And I don't know whether we'd probably ask for this for 10 years. And I just throw that out. I mean, I know none of you have seen this before. I guess the other side of it is we can't do nothing with the current situation. I mean, the roads are one of the biggest problems on the island. So we'll have to discuss what's acceptable. Any thoughts? This is a quiet group tonight. Phil?
Go
ahead, Les.
I was just going to say that that looks like what the county is doing on some of their roads. They only pave so much of it, and they go over the bad stuff, and then you got good stuff, like they did King Road. Part of King Road was really bad, and they finally paved that. Van Horn Road, almost out to going towards the airport, they did that almost on the middle belt. And that's what it looks like the county's doing. They're not doing the whole road. They're doing certain sections. So maybe that's what we all end up doing.
Well, I think we need to consider what the state is planning to do. I mean, there's state proposals of, many of them are pretty draconian. I think I mentioned we have the highest gas rates and gasoline cost and the lowest quality roads of any state I've been in. And the state proposal, they're talking about 2.8 billion, and they're speaking of that as really only about half of what they need when they get right down to it. Depending on what the state is proposing, I think we'll have to temper what we put forth, because right now a 45-cent per gallon additional gasoline tax is people are going to start expecting these roads to be fixed. I mean, I know I would be if my gas tax goes up that amount. But I think we'll know that pretty soon. I think we'll know that within 6 months what direction that's going to go. And then I think based on that, I think it's a good proposal. I mean, if the state comes through with a decent proposal and a plan that could help us, we may not have to go for a full assessment of a mill. Maybe we could go for 3/4 of a mill total. If they're still haggling back and forth, I think a mill would be minimum of what we would need. So I think it's a wait and see at this point, but it's something we need to keep our eye on and think about.
Yeah, the only thing I can say, and I think everything you said is correct. This year, the county came in and said, we're going to challenge you for neighborhood roads. We'll give you $388,000, and you have to match that with 20% match. This money that Ted mentioned that I just heard about yesterday, if it's there for next year, we'd have to come up with a 20% match. If they get new money, and we should expect some of it to flow here, they're probably going to ask for a 20% match. And this year, with the $388,000 program, we're going to spend every dollar we have in the bank for roads. And we've sat down and analyzed it, and we're right at break even. We won't have any money left in our road fund. But we're going to make a lot of improvements that are needed all over the township. So my concern would be we won't have any match money, or very little, if we only have $130,000 a year versus 400 and some thousand. And again, I think we got to look that if additional money flows to Wayne County, we got to ask for it, for some of it, a fair share of it.
Well, I would look at it, I mean, if more taxation is coming at the state level or at the county level for roads, this match stuff should start going away. I mean, I mean, the idea that they're Wayne County roads and yet we have to match the money that gets put into it from the state is, I can understand that in the current funding situation where the money for the roads is far, far less than what's going to take to maintain them. Yeah, they're saying help us out here. But if they pass a big tax increase of any sort that is supposed to directly go to roads, I would expect this match stuff to start going down.
Remember this. I think that's a good expectation. But all these programs that we're talking about matching have all been on neighborhood streets, not our primary roads like Meridian, East River, Church Road, where we have where most of the traffic flows. So hopefully you're right, that if they do get a substantial increase, they'll have money to put on our primary roads, like Meridian, East River, Church Road, where we have dire need for, I mean, they're a mess. So I hope you're right. And as you say, we'll wait and see. I just thought I'd throw it out. I mean, it's a challenge for us that we're facing.
Plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah. So anyway, those are some items. Derek, welcome to Grosse Hill. we got a plate full here with our normal routine business. Hopefully this helps set the stage for what we all got to think about as we go forward. So. Okay. All right. So that's the chairman's report for this evening. Just a little discussion. We'll go around the table now for commissioners. Brenda?
Nothing.
John?
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Phil?
Nothing further.
Les?
I have nothing.
Ted? John, anything else?
Welcome aboard to Derek again, and well wishes to Mr. Budney. May he feel better soon. Everyone have a safe and happy 4th of July, and I will be on vacation for the next meeting, so good luck. That's all for tonight.
Got a question to ask John. How is Safeway doing?
Very well. Right now, they had to pull off and go on another job, but they'll be back on Wednesday.
Have they found any major problems again?
None, anything they found so far, we have repaired. The last one was on Highland. There was a hole in the pipe. We cut that out and repaired that. Lots of calcium, lots of roots, but cutting them as we go.
Yeah, I saw on the bill thing that we had to have extra on that.
Above and beyond their contract. But it makes more sense to do it now while they're right there.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Derek,
John.
Derek, any final comments?
Nope, just look forward to working with you all, and we'll see you 8 a.m. on Monday.
Very good. And Ryan, thanks for being here. You had a lot of good news tonight. So hopefully we'll keep things going. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting at 8:05 p.m.
There's support. Support. All in favor?
Aye.
He's adjourned. Thank you.